Hey guys, Tinker Taylor here today, bringing you another A to Z challenge video. So today we are working on a school, and I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit overwhelmed with how big it was, but in the end, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So yeah, definitely stick around and see what it ends up looking like, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too. But if you are wondering what the A to Z challenge even is, it is a challenge where I give you guys a letter each week. It's consecutive in the way that you learn the English alphabet in primary school. So week 1 is A, the last week is Z. You make your way from A to Z in the middle. Hence the A to Z challenge. But yeah, this challenge, you basically get a new letter each week, and you can do a build or room or cast creation based on that letter. It doesn't have to be in the shape of the letter, it just has to be inspired by said letter. So, today is S, so I'm doing a school. Now, if you're looking through my most recent videos, you'll notice that, I've been doing videos in 26 days, like this challenge in 26 days instead of in 26 weeks, like one a week. And that is because over February I do them in 26 days. But for you guys, I want to make it crystal clear, it's a week, so do not worry about, there is so much building going on here. That's just for me. You absolutely don't have to worry about it. But yeah, if you want to do a cast creation, a build creation, it's really up to you guys. I'm not particularly worried about which one you do. I know that some people prefer building, some people prefer cast creation, some people prefer gameplay. It's really up to you and what you like doing. So yeah, long story short, enjoy the challenge and do as little or as much of it as you want. The only rule that the challenge really has is no CC, and a kind of more of a guideline than a rule is you do as many or as little builds as you want, as many letters as you want, I should say. So if you only want to do every second letter, or if you only have time to do this one or that one, or, you've come halfway through the challenge, it's completely up to you how much you do. So it's kind of like 26 mini challenges rather than a 26-week challenge. So yeah, and I know like people get particularly busy around certain periods of their life, and that's why, again, you don't have to do it all. There's also what was I going to say? I don't know. Essentially, you can do as much or as little as you want. And yeah, it's just really, really super fun. Now, I know I said no CC to you guys, and I am totally using CC right now. But that is because I don't get to use CC a lot. Last year, when I was just doing 2 builds a week, sometimes I would do CC, sometimes I wouldn't. And it really just depended on if I was doing a shell challenge, if I was doing a particular, I did a series of townhouses that were inspired by the different evolutions. And yeah, for a lot of those, I chose not to use or was told not to use CC. So yeah, for example, shell challenges, a lot of the time you're not supposed to use CC, so I don't. And other times I don't use it because I don't want CC in that particular build. And so, yeah, that's why I don't really get to use it a lot. But this year, I've started doing something called the Pokemon Build series. The Evolution Townhouses were kind of a sneaky hint at it. If you go back and listen to any of those videos, I'm like, oh yeah, I have this idea, and it's going to be really big, and oh, it's super secret, and blah, 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 blah. But I never actually, I don't think I say anything about it, but yeah, long story short, that was when I started to be inspired by it. I had already I have a spreadsheet for this series, and I already had probably Gen 1 Pokemon all put in. I had their types. I go through and put, actually I'm gonna pull it up, so I'm not trying to remember based on memory, because sometimes my memory's not all that great. So it is what gen they are, what number in the National Pokédex they are, their names, their types. There's a little section, so if I put details, so like, are they a starter Pokemon? Are they an evolution from, like, you know, in Gen 1, it's just like these are the Pokemon, whatever. But in Gen 2, 3, so on and so forth, Gen 1, 2, 3, no, just from Gen 2 onwards, there are some Pokemon that link back to previous generations, so I'll put in whether or not they're linked to a previous Pokemon that I've seen or done, and that just means that I can go back and see what kind of builds I've already done for it. So if I say, let's say I do a farm, because I do quite a few farms apparently, but let's say I do a farm for a Pokemon, and then later on I find an evolution or pre-evolution in a later generation, and I want to do a farm, I can be like, well, I've already done a farm, so maybe I shouldn't, but also if I haven't done a farm in a while, it kind of makes sense, so yeah, why not do a farm? But then I've got the world that I'm putting them in, so I'm actually keeping track of all the worlds that I'm using. I'm keeping track of the lot size, so I will have statistics on that, which is super exciting. I love statistics like that. So, you know, I can already tell you that, where is the stats here? That my most popular lot size is 30 by 20. It is 41% of the build so far. And that, I think it was 4 worlds, Henford, Copperdale, Chestnut, and Oasis Springs are the top worlds that I currently use, with 12.9% of the build so far. And then I have the list of ideas. I have little notes next to the ideas just in case, like, for one of the builds I did a city park, and next to it I just wrote, think pigeons. That's all I wrote, but I know what I mean by that. I know that I'm thinking of a park where there is probably a lot of pigeons hanging around, so there's probably going to be bins and lots of places where people sit and eat, and that's really what I meant by that. So yeah, and then I have when it's due, and then I have a bunch of like, okay, here are my to-do list for each Pokemon. I've got to build it and create the video and the post and the blah 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 and this and that. And that way I can have a little completion, like, percentage of how much I'm done that Pokemon, but B, I've also gone through and had a look at how much I'm finished with the particular gen I'm in and all of the Pokemon in general. So for Gen 1, actually for Gen 1 to 4, I have put in all of the Pokemon and all of their types. For Gen 1, all of them have build ideas. Gen 2, I'm about 82%. I say about, it's exactly 82%. 82% of them have build ideas, and it is 59.26% for Gen 3. I haven't come up with build ideas for the rest of them. I have started putting in Gen 5, the Pokemon and their types, but I haven't put any ideas for Gen 4 or 5 or beyond. But also you can see that I am 20.53% of the way through Gen 1 and 3.02% of the way through the whole series, which is kind of really exciting. And that's only from 1 month. So I know that towards the end of this month I'm definitely going to be working on more of these builds, and we're probably going to, yeah, get a bit further along in terms of the Pokemon build series. And I realize I've talked about doing it, but I probably should tell you what exactly it is. So what it is a build series where I take a Pokemon and I do a build for that Pokemon. I know that sounds really obvious, but it's as simple as that. Like, okay, cool, there's Pikachu, okay, Pikachu gives me these vibes and these ideas, and okay, I'll do a build based on that. Like, that's the sort of build I'm gonna do. And that's it. Every Pokemon gets their own sort of individual build. It is sort of a little bit, how do I say this? Like, it's something that sometimes you might look at these builds and go, how did you get that idea? So for example, the city park that I just talked about was for, I believe, Pidgey. Now, Pidgey is a pigeon-looking Pokemon. It makes sense to have a pigeon-looking Pokemon at a park where you would expect pigeons to be. Like, that makes sense. You can correlate between those. But some of them, like one of them, I accidentally ended up building a cult compound. Didn't mean to. It was meant to be a farm, and then it kind of turned into a little bit of a cult compound, and I don't really see many of the Pokemon giving me cult vibes at the moment. Keep in mind, I'm only 20% of the way through Gen 1 builds. So, yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes, yeah, they end up being really odd and strange. And like, okay, for the build ideas, I'm only 30.54% of the way through build ideas, meaning I don't necessarily have I haven't necessarily seen all the Pokemon. I'm also not that huge into Pokemon. It is something I definitely want to become more involved with. But growing up, I didn't really have gaming devices. I think we ended up getting a Wii and a PlayStation 2. And we didn't end up getting an Xbox until I basically moved out of home. So yeah, like it's not something that we're very popular, like not popular, it's not something we had growing up in my house. I don't know, I spent a lot of time as a young kid with books, basically. I read a lot, but you know, we did have TV, and like I said, we did have PlayStation and Wii, so occasionally we'd play those as well, but yeah, I didn't really play a lot of games. We never had a home computer. I didn't get a laptop for school until, I mean, I had one towards the end of primary school, but it was one that it was, I didn't get to do whatever I wanted on it. It was one that I basically only ever got to use when when I needed to do assignments and stuff like that for school. And then, yeah, when I went into high school, I think my school had a laptop that I could use. Like, it was a school laptop, so obviously I can't download games on that. And it wasn't, I've moved to many different schools, and it wasn't until I went to the last school that I lived at that I ended up getting a laptop. So, yeah, that one, I didn't have, like, free reign to do whatever I wanted forever, but, like, I was definitely a lot less restricted on it. I was allowed to have games on it. As long as all my schoolwork was getting done, I was allowed to have games on it. So, yeah, that was when I actually ended up, finally, yeah, getting into games. And it was something I just really wasn't all that in. Like, a lot of the games I really wasn't into because I didn't grow up on them. It wasn't like a dopamine rush or something that, you know, oh, growing up it was an escape and whatnot, you know. I know plenty of people like that who are like, games were the way I relaxed after school, or, you know, I played them with friends or whatever. I didn't really have that. So, yeah, like, I feel like as an adult I'm getting into them, absolutely. But yeah, as a kid I didn't really get into games all that much. We didn't, yeah, like I said, we didn't have a home computer or anything like that. But you bet your bottom dollar, Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, oh my goodness. I kind of want to, the roommates I live with have a Wii, and I'm kind of tempted to ask them if I can play some Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resorts, because I miss those games. Like, 10-pin bowling and 100-pin bowling were my favourite. I did also enjoy a few of the other games, like the sword fight one. That one, it did get tiring after a while because it was basically just smacking things as viciously as you could, but, you know, my hands got tired after a while. So yeah, 10-pin bowling, definitely my favourite. 100-pin bowling was also pretty good too. But yeah, it's not something that I really grew up with. So yeah, I don't know. I hear a lot of people saying like, oh, I've been playing The Sims since it came out, and I'm like, yeah, I played Sims 3 once, maybe twice, and I just didn't really get into it because I wasn't into gaming and I didn't understand gaming. I much prefer reading at that time, and now I'm like, I probably should put the game down and read. Hey, reading's probably good. Hey, yeah, that's probably something I should do. But I read a book quite recently and I finished it in 2 nights. Like, I read, it was, I think 80 chapters, something like that. They were very short chapters, so it wasn't a very, very long book. In fact, it's one of the shorter books on my bookshelf. Not to say it's a short book, but like, it's shorter than most other books on my shelf. And yeah, I read 10 chapters the first night, and I wasn't really super into it. It's called The Tea Ladies. I don't remember who it's by, but let me quickly find that out for you. But yeah, I read the first 10 chapters on the first night, and I was like, it's okay. I'm not, it just feels really, I think the thing that was throwing me off was it was in present tense. Most books I read are in past tense, and it being in present tense really threw me off. By the way, it is by Amanda Hampson, Hampson. And you know what, towards the end it started getting better. It's also not set in the current day, and sometimes I do struggle with books that are set within the last 100 years that aren't present to myself. Just because a lot of the things I'm like, I can't imagine it. I don't know how it works. I don't know if that's realistic or not, and it was a little bit of a struggle for me to get around that at first, but I think that's a me problem and not a story problem. I think if you ignore the issues I personally had, it was a really good book. I like the fact that within the book, because some books you read and there's kind of like plot A, maybe a plot B, and that's it. But this kind of had plot A and B kind of really overlapping, but there was just so much going on, so many aspects and so many connections that towards the end, once you started making connections, like, it was all one plot, but it was many different mini plots, and I really liked that. It's all mostly told from one character's perspective, and I liked that. I like sometimes jumping over to other people and seeing what's going on over there, but yeah, most of the time I enjoy having just one character. That's not to say I don't enjoy other stories that do cut back and forward, but yeah. But yeah, what I was saying was the first night I read 10 chapters, and then the second night I realised, oh, it's 1 a.m. and I've finished the whole book. Cool. Should probably go to bed now. And I did go to start reading a new book last night, because I finished the book the night before, but I ended up chatting with Onion for way too much time, and then I was like, I'm not going to be able to read, like, I'm falling asleep at my desk right now. I'm just going to go to bed. I'll take the book with me, but I'm going to bed. And I end up just, going straight to sleep, basically. So, yeah, I do have a book to read tonight. There's been a bunch of books that I recently bought, but there's also a bunch of books on my shelf that I haven't read. And so, yeah, I'm going to make my way through them, and yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty happy about that. I don't think I'll share all the books I read, because some of them, I don't know, like, I've read a lot of, I don't want to say modern classics, but a lot of books that people within my sort of age range would definitely have read. But I want to get into more of the historical classics, I guess. So I want to read more, I've never read Pride and Prejudice, or basically any of those types of books. I've read Animal Farm, I've read 1984, and I don't think there's much else that I've read. Those ones I read because of school. What's the other one I read? To Kill a Mockingbird. That's really it. Is whatever I had to read at school. So yeah, definitely I would like to read more of them. Because I enjoyed them, even though some of them are a bit dry and boring and made me want to rip my eyes out. I still enjoyed them. It's weird, like, I thoroughly wanted to rip my eyes out reading them and wanted to give up, but at the same time I couldn't put it down. And if you can do that in a book, if you can make me want to read it despite the fact that I'm finding it really boring, I don't know what magic voodoo you've done, but yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read it. So yeah, I don't know. I'll let you guys know when I read these books and my opinion of them. Cause yeah, like Animal Farm, I enjoyed. It was, I kind of enjoy stuff like that. It's stuff that, like, if you read it from a very shallow level, you're gonna find it boring. But if you read into it and you look at, like, the representation and the symbolism and stuff like that in it, and I know looking at it at school and looking at the symbolism, it's I want to rip my eyeballs out. But when you read it on your own and you kind of look at it yourself, it can be quite interesting. You know, like, one of my favourite movies, the reason why it's my favourite is because of all the symbolism in it. It's because when you follow the characters, you can see the colour and shapes around them changing as the story progresses and as the characters change. The particular movie I'm talking about is Pan's Labyrinth. It is one of my favourite movies. It's definitely very much up there. And as you follow the two main characters, just be aware. I'm not gonna dive into it if you want to watch it, but be aware of the lighting and the shapes and the other stuff around the storyline that's going on, because it is quite beautiful when you read further. I mean, it's a beautiful film just watching it, but when you go further into it, it's really, really beautiful. And I really appreciate that it's in Spanish. I really appreciate that it is in Spanish, because if it wasn't, I feel like it would lose a lot of its character and beauty. I don't know, it's set in Spain, so of course it's going to be in Spanish, and I feel like it would have almost cheapened the feeling of the film, I guess, if it was in English. So do be fully aware it is not in English, it is in Spanish. But yeah, like, it's just a beautiful, beautiful film. I don't know, I don't want to spoil it, because I honestly, I could sit here and talk about it for hours, about the symbolism and what it means and how beautiful it is, and the storylines and the subplots and what these specific things here mean, and I could talk about it for days. In fact, in school, when we had to read a book and then compare it to a movie and talk about the symbolism and how people convey things through different types of media and all that nonsense, I would always use Pan's Labyrinth. This is what I mean, like, I can tell you so much about it. I did speeches on it, and because I moved schools, and I had, even like, moving upgrades, I'd have different teachers. So no matter who I had, if I had the same teacher, I would still do it, and I didn't care. I did not care that I had the same teacher, because I was like, I know so much about this movie, I feel so comfortable and confident in talking about it. Like, in essays, where you, like, I've had essays where you have to sit down and write them, like, right there and then. I hate those. I think they're so unfair. I don't like them, but I felt very confident in it because I could use a movie quite comfortably. I knew that movie, and it didn't matter what book I had to read, it didn't matter what prompt was along with it. Like, I was so comfortable and confident in it. But I'll be honest with you guys, I've probably watched it 5 times. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've only probably watched it a handful of times. But I think it's a good thing that I've only watched it a couple of times, because I don't want to watch it so many times that I just never want to watch it again. Like, I don't think I've watched it in maybe 2 years. I don't know the last time I watched it, but at least 2 years it's been. So, you know, maybe I should have a movie night and watch that again, because yeah, seriously, it's beautiful. It is absolutely amazing, and yeah, we need to watch. I need to watch it again. But anyway, yeah, I've spent all this time talking about school, but I haven't actually talked about the build. So yeah, when I was coming up with the list for this challenge, I was like, well, I've done a boarding house for a school. I should probably do this school that is attached to this boarding house. But if you go back and watch the boarding house video, it's nothing like this build. Very, 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 very different. And that's because I decided not to. I wanted to do something a bit more modern, up to date, fancy, bougie, still private school vibes. And, you know, I'm going to be open and honest with you guys. I've been to public and private schools. I've been to public and private schools all over Australia, so it's not just like I've been to public school in one space and private school in another. Did I say private twice? I don't know. I've been to it all. And so I don't know, I've been to a private school that was nearly going to close down because there just wasn't enough students. But I've also been to a private school where even if you spent your entire life at that school, if you were a quiet student who didn't act up or, do excessively well, that majority of the teachers probably would have never have seen you and just assumed that you were brand new. So, yeah, that's, I've been to it all. Same with public schools. I've been to small public schools. I've been to big public schools. So I've been to all these different types of places, and so yeah, I don't know. It's I've never been to a school like this. I'll be honest with you. This is super fancy. This is super fancy. It is also super small. It's big and small, depending on where you look. But I kind of blame that on the lot size. I have talked about this before. I think it would be really cool to have a 100 by 100 lot, because I would absolutely build a to scale as possible, build a bunch of builds, like as to scale as possible builds, if I could. I think it would be super interesting, and again, like, I feel like other people would use it as well. The castles, the neighborhoods that people would build, I feel like people would even do like even a tiny home. I know 100 by 100 is massive, but like a tiny home in the middle of this huge forest, I feel like people would do some really, really cool things, and I would love to see that. I know we're never going to get 100 by 100 lot. It's EA has limited the lot size because people want to be able to play this game, and if they can't play the game, there's no point to making a lot that big. But I would love it. Absolutely love it. I know there is Twisted Mexie's got Creator World. I think it's still in beta, maybe, or if it's maybe only through Patreon, I don't know, but from what I see, that is an open world where you might be able to do something like that. But I would love it if it was a lot size. I know that if you had a computer or a laptop that was not very Sims playable friendly, I understand why perhaps you might not want to have something like that, and I get that. I know that's why I'll never have it, and at the end of the day, I'm not mad that we don't have it because of that. But it would be nice to have it. I don't know. I don't know if I'd actually end up using it. I mean, at the moment, I've got a huge build series going on. I doubt it, but I think it would be really, really cool to have something like that going on. And yeah, I don't know. It's curious and fun and weird and wacky, and I love it. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below on, would you build on 100 by 100 lot? Would you like a bigger lot, and would you build on it? And what would you build on it? I know that's more than one question, but just that sort of arching, whatever, that full sentiment. If you would use it, if you wouldn't, let me know your thoughts. That's what I was trying to say. Your thoughts on the feasibility of 100 by 100 lot. I feel like we would get some really, really cool builds, but we would also get people saying that, hey, I can't finish this build because my game crashed, or I can't even get into this lot because my game crashed. I've had that. I've done a build where I built it, and then my game crashed, and I could not get back into it no matter what I did. I probably should have backed up my files before I deleted it, but the problem was I hadn't saved it to my gallery. And that was the one thing I wanted to do, so I'm sure there are ways I could have done it, but I didn't, and yeah, long story short, if you've got I think it's in the For Rent pack, the dirt decals, just be careful how much of the dirt decal you use, because if you make it excessive, you will break the game, apparently. But anyway, yeah, I spent yesterday, working on this build quite a bit. So it has quite a number of classrooms. I didn't actually end up counting, but if you come in the front doors and you go left, there's 2 classrooms on the ground floor. One of them is kind of like a geography type, like maybe geography and history type classroom, and the other one is a science lab. And there's some bathrooms and some bubblers or drink taps or whatever you call them. And if you go up the stairs that are there, then you can get to, there's another classroom that's kind of like the maybe it's like math or English or whatever. And then there is a cooking classroom, like a culinary kitchen type classroom. Again, bathrooms, bubblers. I forgot to put bubblers in actually. But lockers, there are lockers. And then on the top floor is where we are now, working on a library/computer lab. It is very sparsely furnished. I'll be completely honest with you guys. If I don't come back and clutter the room, I probably haven't done it off camera. There's a couple of rooms I do. Go off and clutter a little bit more, but yeah, not gonna lie to you guys, there are some builds that are just not all that cluttered. There are no books in this room at all. There are books in the build, but they're not in that room. You'd think, yeah, probably should put books in a library, but I'll be honest with you guys, it could take me an hour just to fill up those shelves, and I did not have an hour. I needed to be keeping an eye on Macy. She has a little injury on the back of her neck. Originally, it looked like a little, like a pimple or like a blood spot or something, like she'd been scratching it and whatnot. But I think she's been scratching it more because it had a scab, and now the scab is gone, and I've been trying to stop her from scratching it every moment I get. So yeah, we're going to the vet today, but yeah, it was very, very stressed because last night and yesterday I was just keeping an eye on her and making sure she was okay, and yeah, I don't know, I'm a bit worried about her. So yeah, we're definitely taking her to the vet today, do not worry about that. So yeah, it did stress me out a lot, and I did struggle with this build because of that a little bit. I was just very worried about her, but she's currently having a little nap beside me on the desk here. And I've been keeping an eye on it. I look at it pretty much every hour that I'm awake. And also Onion keeps looking at it as well, just keeping an eye on her. Because, you know, we don't want anything bad to happen to her. So, yeah, like I said, going to the vet. The vet time is kind of actually when I feed her dinner. But that'd be a good thing because it means I'll know where she is and I'll be able to take her to the vet. I'm pretty sure the vet is within walking distance, which is really, really good because I don't drive. One of my roommates is driving me, thankfully. But yeah, I if there is ever an emergency, I can just literally pick her up and run to the vet. It's like I walk past it when I go on my walk to the shops. So yeah, I don't know. It's good having a vet that close by, and I'm pretty sure this is a vet where it's also somebody's house. So even if it's after hours, I can still, I mean, I'd hate to live like that. If I were a vet, I would want to be able to go home and separate myself from work. And I know there are 24-hour vets out there, which makes me feel a lot better. But yeah, living where I work, I mean, there are a lot of people who work from home, or their home is their job, basically. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. Yeah, anyway. Long story short, I was a little bit panicked about her. I was taking lots and lots of breaks to go check up on her, and I think I even took a little bit of a nap at some point because I was just feeling so overwhelmed. But I had Macy with me because, again, wanted to keep an eye on her, and she loves nap time. She absolutely loves it. She thinks it's the best thing ever. Anywhere I am, she just loves to nap. Okay, maybe don't kick that because you'll knock it over and scare yourself. She likes to kick things over on my desk, not intentionally, but she'll stretch and just kick it and knock things over, and there's a loud clatter and it spooks her. So I always have to I always have to make sure that whenever she's stretching that she doesn't knock anything over, because she's just so unaware of her surroundings like that. I mean, not when she's awake and alert and aware, but when she's on my desk sleeping and stretching, she is unaware. But anyway, probably should go back to talking about the build, hey. So the room I'm working on right now is a little staff room, like a little relaxation spot and whatnot. And on this side of the build, so what I was talking about before was when you enter and you turn left. If you turn right, there are 3 classrooms downstairs, the principal's office, a little, just like a little front office area as well connected to it, and the cafeteria. And then upstairs we have 3 more classrooms and that little, oh, there's also a bathroom downstairs, that's right. But also, what was I saying, the staff room. Now I was thinking this little bathroom here would probably be the staff bathroom, but that means if you're upstairs on the right half, you have to go all the way downstairs and to the left side of the building. But to be fair, it's honestly not all that far. But like if you were in the library and you needed to go to the toilet, that would mean going down 3 flights, but that's why each floor on that side does have bathrooms. But yeah, this is probably like the staff bathroom. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the interior. So how many classrooms is that? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 11 if you count the computer lab. So about 11 classes. And don't worry, I do put a shower. Actually, I put 2 showers into this build. So in the bathrooms inside the building, the main building, there isn't. But I do end up putting in a basketball court, indoor basketball court, and that has some bathrooms and showers in it. And there is also a pool here as well. That one's outdoors. I wasn't too sure about that. Initially, my idea was actually to put the swimming pool underground underneath the gym, like underneath the basketball area, and have it so that you come from the main building down into the pool, or you could go from the basketball court down into the pool, having those two sort of main areas. But yeah, like I said, I was a little bit stressed, a little bit preoccupied, so honestly that whole idea completely lost it. It's gone. It's not a thought in my head at all. But, you know, maybe one day I'll come back and revisit the school, maybe not this one, but rebuild a school that is not CC, and build something so that, yeah, if you guys want to play with a school that I've built, I can do that, and I can feel pretty proud of what I've done. So, yeah, if you're interested in me redoing a school, definitely let me know down below, because I kind of want to do a full file save myself. I don't know if I have the time nor the energy for that, but it's something I'm definitely going to look into. So yeah, if you're curious or interested in me rebuilding the school, or if you've got any tips or tricks on how to build a good school, especially if you're a game player. If you're a game player, please, please, please let me know down below what makes a good build for game players. You know, the school, the auditorium, all that sort of jazz. What makes it a good build? Because I don't play the game. I've played it before, but I rarely play it. So if there is anything that you think that builders miss out on and forget about and frustrates you, please let me know down below, and I will definitely take that into account when building in the future. And again, with CC, I'm not too fussed. I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm really not all that fussed about whether or not it works or looks good or is functional, because at the end of the day, it's CC. Not many people are going to be able to use it or play with it. So yeah, it's not really my main concern. But when it comes to no CC builds, absolutely, I will take that into consideration and worry about that for you guys, because these are builds that you can download and build with. That's why with like the Pokemon build series, I have builds that are pack restricted, and why I am trying to restrict my cluttering as well, because yeah, I don't want to overdo it and stress people out with like, oh, I don't have that pack and I can't play it, or it's so cluttered that I can't play with this build. And yeah, I want to try and make it a bit more balanced. It does mean it doesn't look as good to me, because I do love to clutter. I do love putting all that clutter in, but it also means that I'm not spending as much time in the builds, meaning I'm not spending 567 years just in one tiny little build that is going to be absolutely insane and terrible to edit and voice. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to find the balance of everything. A lot of the builds to me feel like people haven't actually moved in yet, or it's not, like if it's a commercial build, like it's just been built, or it's not even finished yet because it's missing certain aspects. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of not cluttering, but it is definitely a lot more helpful to not clutter. So yeah, it's again trying to find that happy medium balance between what I want to do and what's actually useful for everyone else. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said before, let me know down below. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a school. If there's something that builders do that annoy you as a game player, let me know. It's definitely something I would love to take on board and yeah, not just build for the sake of building. I like to kind of keep these things in mind and whatnot, because I think it's important. I think it's really important for people to be able to play with builds. You know, not everybody is a builder, so people do rely on the builds in the gallery. So yeah, as a builder, I do want to make it a bit easier for non-builders to play with my builds and not have to go in and like delete everything. So yeah, like I said, please, anything that bothers you, let me know. If there's anything I did in this build, I know it's CC, and I'm not too bothered because of the fact that it is CC. Yeah, just chuck it down below, let me know, and I will absolutely get on that. But anyway, we are getting pretty close to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it, definitely make sure to subscribe. If you've enjoyed my ramblings as well, I've been pretty good with this video. Sometimes my ramblings just completely off topic and down some weird rabbit hole, and I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I've been pretty good on track today. But yeah, I come out with a new video every single day except for the last 2 days of February this year. It's just because this challenge takes 26 days and I don't want to fill the last couple of days with builds that make no sense. Like, why would I? There's no extra letters of the alphabet for me to put in, so yeah, I'm just gonna take that time off and rest and relax. And by rest and relax, I mean work on other builds for the future. Definitely a lot of Pokemon build videos, and yeah, I don't know, it's very exciting and I'm very keen to get in and get those things done. But yeah, like I said, if you've enjoyed my ramblings, my nonsense, my builds, anything like that, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'm gonna head off and work on the next build before I have to take Macy to the vet. But until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!